Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into something pretty huge today. It's all about GitHub Copilot.
Ooh, yeah, Copilot.
Yeah, have you played around with it much?
I have. It's really interesting. It's one of those things that kind of sneaks up on you. You start using it and you're like, this is kind of neat.
Yeah, exactly.
But then the more you use it, the more you realize how much potential it actually has.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable.
So for anyone who hasn't heard of it, what is GitHub Copilot?
So it's an AI-powered coding assistant,
Okay.
and it's integrated right into your coding environment.
So it's not like a separate app or
Yeah,
anything.
it's right there in your editor.
Gotcha.
And it can do things like suggest can completions, generate entire functions, even write unit tests for you.
Whoa, hold on. Unit tests? Like it can actually write tests for my code.
It can. And it can do it really well.
That's insane. So how does it know what kind of tests to write?
Well, it's trained on a massive data set of code,
Right.
and it can analyze your existing code, understand the context, and then generate tests that are relevant and effective.
So it's not just blindly spitting out random tests.
No, not at all. It's actually quite intelligent about it.
This is blowing my mind. But obviously it's not perfect, right? I mean, it's still AI. It's not a human developer.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It has its limitations.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, it can sometimes generate code that's not quite right.
Ah.
It might have syntax errors, or it might not be the most efficient way to do things.
So we can't just blindly trust everything it suggests.
Exactly. It's important to review everything carefully and make sure it meets your standard.
So it's more like a partner than a replacement.
I think that's a great way to put it.
A really smart partner that can help us write better code faster.
Exactly.
I love it. Now, you mentioned that it can generate entire functions. What does that even look like?
Okay. Imagine you're working on a project and you need to write a function that, let's say, sorts a list of numbers. Instead of writing the entire function from scratch, you can give Copilot a comment describing what you want the function to do.
So I could just write something like, this function sorts a list of numbers in ascending order.
Pretty much, yeah. And then Copilot will analyze that comment, and based on its understanding of programming concepts and the context of your code, it will generate the function for you.
Whoa. So it's like reading my mind.
In a way, yeah. It's using its knowledge of code to anticipate what you need and then provide it to you.
That's incredibly powerful. But it also sounds kind of dangerous. Like, what if it generates code that's insecure or introduces bugs?
That's a valid concern. And that's why it's so important to review the code Copilot generates carefully. It's a tool, not a magic wand. We still need to be responsible developers and make sure the code we're using is safe and effective.
Right. It's like Copilot is giving us the ingredients, but we still need to be the chefs who put it all together.
Exactly. And that's where the art of prompting comes in.
Prompting.
Yeah, it's like the better you are at communicating with Copilot, the better the results you'll get.
So it's not just about saying, hey, Copilot, write me a function.
No, it's about giving it clear instructions, providing context, and using the right kind of language to guide its suggestions.
So it's like learning how to speak Copilot.
Pretty much, yeah. It's about understanding its strengths and limitations and using it in a way that maximizes its potential.
This is fascinating. I'm starting to see how Copilot could be a game changer for developers.
It really could. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. As AI continues to evolve, we can expect to see even more powerful coding tools emerge in the near future.
This is really exciting stuff and a little bit scary, to be honest.
Yeah, I get that. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
But it's also incredibly exciting to think about the possibilities. Okay, so we've talked about what Copilot is, how it works, and some of the potential benefits and risks.
Right.
But let's get into some specifics. I'm curious to hear about some real-world examples of how Copilot is being used today.
Sure. So one area where Copilot is really shining is in generating unit tests.
We talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah. And it's becoming increasingly popular because it can save developers a ton of time and effort.
Makes sense. Writing unit tests can be a real pain sometimes.
It can, and it's often the first thing to get cut when deadlines are tight.
Yeah, I've been there.
But with Copilot, you can generate comprehensive tests with just a few clicks.
So walk me through it. How does it actually work?
Okay, let's say you've just written a function that calculates the area of a triangle.
Okay.
With Copilot, you can simply write a comment above that function describing what it does and the expected inputs and outputs.
So I'd write something like, this function calculates the area of a triangle given its base and height.
Exactly. And then Copilot will analyze that comment, understand the structure of your function, and generate a series of tests that cover various scenarios.
So it'll test with different base and height values, make sure it handles edge cases correctly, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's like having a QA engineer built right into your coding environment.
That's amazing. It really does feel like Copilot is elevating the whole development process.
It is, and it's not just about testing. Copilot can also be incredibly helpful when it comes to refactoring code.
Refactoring.
Yeah. When you have a piece of code that works, but it's messy or inefficient.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
Right. So instead of spending hours manually cleaning up the code, you can use Copilot to suggest alternative implementations.
So it's like Copilot is my code cleanup crew.
Exactly. And it can often come up with solutions that are more elegant and efficient than what we might think of on our own.
That's really cool. So it's not just about writing new code, it's about improving the code we already have.
Exactly. It's about making our code more maintainable, readable, and performant.
This is fantastic. I'm really starting to see the potential of Copilot, and I have a feeling we've only just scratched the surface.
We have. There's so much more to explore, from using Copilot to learn new languages and frameworks, to understanding the ethical implications of AI-assisted coding.
All right, well, I am hooked. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll dive into some of those more advanced topics.
It's good to me.
All right, we're back and ready to dive deeper into the world of GitHub Copilot.
Deeper.
Before the break, we talked about how Copilot can help us generate unit tests and refactor code. But what about the bigger picture? How does Copilot fit into the overall software development landscape?
That's a great question, and I think it's one that a lot of people are grappling with right now. When a new technology like this comes along, it's natural to ask, how is this going to change things?
Yeah, absolutely. Is it going to replace developers? Is it going to make our jobs easier or harder?
All valid questions, and I think it's important to remember that Copilot, like any tool, is only as good as the person using it. It's not about replacing developers. It's about augmenting our abilities. Think of it like having a really, really smart assistant who can anticipate your needs and help you work more efficiently.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So instead of spending hours writing boilerplate code or debugging simple errors, we can focus on the more creative and challenging aspects of development.
Exactly. We can spend more time thinking about the big picture, designing elegant solutions, and solving complex problems.
That sounds pretty amazing, to be honest. But I'm also curious about the ethical implications of using AI in coding. Are there any concerns about bias in the code that Copilot generates, or the potential for job displacement?
Those are definitely important considerations, and it's something that the developers of Copilot are very aware of. They've taken steps to mitigate bias by training the model on a massive and diverse data set of code. But it's an ongoing challenge, and it's something that we need to be mindful of as we use these tools.
Right. And what about the potential for job displacement? I mean, if Copilot can write code faster and more efficiently than humans, does that mean that developers will become obsolete?
I don't think so. In fact, I think the opposite is true. I think tools like Copilot will actually create more opportunities for developers.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, as AI takes over some of the more mundane and repetitive tasks, it will free up developers to focus on higher-level work. We'll need people who can design and architect complex systems, who can understand and interpret data, who can solve creative problems, and who can collaborate effectively with both humans and AI.
So it's not about being replaced by AI, it's about learning to work alongside it.
Exactly. It's about adapting to this new landscape and embracing the potential of AI to enhance our abilities and unlock new possibilities.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's all about collaboration. Collaboration between humans and AI.
Exactly. And that's where I think things get really exciting. When we can combine the power of AI with human creativity and ingenuity, the possibilities are truly limitless.
It's like we're entering a new era of software development,
Mhm.
an era where AI is not just a tool, but a partner in the creative process.
That's a great way to put it. And just like any partnership, it requires communication, understanding, and a willingness to learn and grow together.
Okay, I'm sold. But let's get practical for a moment. If someone's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, this Copilot thing sounds awesome, but where do I even start? What advice would you give them?
I'd say the best way to start is to just dive in and experiment. There are tons of resources available online, including tutorials, documentation, and even sample projects.
Yeah, the Copilot website itself has some pretty cool demos and examples.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn. The more you use Copilot, the better you'll understand its strengths and limitations, and the better you'll become at using it effectively.
So it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process of learning and discovery, and it's one that I believe will be incredibly rewarding for developers who are willing to embrace it.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll be having the same conversation about an even more advanced AI coding assistant, something that makes Copilot look like a toy.
Now, that's a thought. The pace of innovation in AI is incredible. Who knows what the future holds?
It's both exciting and a little bit terrifying to think about.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But one thing's for sure. The world of software development is changing, and AI is playing a big role in that change.
So buckle up, everyone. It's going to be a wild ride.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
You know, it's kind of funny, right? We talk about all this amazing AI stuff, but at the end of the day, it's still us humans who have to make sense of it all.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? AI can do some incredible things, but it's not a replacement for human judgment and intuition.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for the future of developers? Like, what skills are we going to need to thrive in this AI-powered world?
Well, I think one of the most important skills will be adaptability.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Things are changing so fast, we got to be able to keep up.
Exactly. But it's not just about keeping up with the technology, it's also about being open to new ways of working.
Right, like we have to be willing to embrace these new tools and figure out how to use them effectively.
Absolutely. And that means being willing to learn and experiment and maybe even unlearn some of the things we've always done.
So it's kind of like AI is forcing us to become better learners, better problem solvers.
I think that's a great way to put it, and I think it's a good thing because the more we learn and grow, the more we can push the boundaries of what's possible.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about the skills we'll need, but what about the actual work itself? Like, what will the day-to-day life of a developer look like in this AI-powered future?
Well, I think we can expect to see a lot more collaboration between humans and AI.
Like, we'll be working side by side with these AI assistants, right?
Exactly. And it won't just be about writing code. AI will be involved in everything from design and testing to deployment and maintenance.
So it's like AI will be integrated into every aspect of the software development lifecycle.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet, and I think it's going to have a profound impact on how we work and the kinds of products we create.
This is really getting me thinking. It's like we're standing at the edge of a new frontier, and we have no idea what's on the other side.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right? The unknown, the possibilities, the potential to create something truly groundbreaking.
It's both thrilling and a little bit scary, to be honest.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like we're stepping into the future and we're not quite sure what to expect.
But one thing's for sure, it's going to be an amazing ride. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today.
Oh,
We've covered a ton of ground, from the basics of GitHub Copilot to the broader implications of AI in software development. And I don't know about you, but my head is spinning.
mine too. In a good way, though.
Oh, definitely a good way. This is the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night thinking about all the possibilities. So, as we wrap up, I just want to say a huge thank you to our expert for joining us today and sharing their insights.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great conversation.
It really has. And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries. The future of software development is in your hands, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.